Hey everybody, the Charlotte shooting. This is the very first video I've ever done, commenting on politics or current affairs. I was talking about it with a friend, so figured I might as well record a video while I'm at it, because I think with the recent videos released by Mrs. Scott, there's definitely some things that need to be analyzed here. There is a claim going around well, there's a claim by the Charlotte police that the officer who shot Mr. Scott himself was black, Brentley Vinson. However, there's also a counterclaim that it's some sort of cover-up, that it was actually a white officer who shot Mr. Scott. Tahisha Williams is a witness, and she says that it was a white bald officer who shot Mr. Scott, and that the black officer came on the scene 10 to 15 minutes later. I really wish that the Charlotte PD would release the police body cams as well. I think that is the only sensible thing to do here. However, we do need to analyze the witnesses' claims, and we will see that they are definitely falsifiable. I will not claim that she's lying. I think that's one thing people do too much, is accuse somebody of lying, intentionally lying. However, we do know that witnesses see things differently. Probably just didn't notice Mr. Vinson. A black officer is clearly seen in the video. So let's dive into this here. The reason this is important is because each anecdote or each particular situation, the circumstances matter, okay? If this is some sort of racist profiling incident, in this particular situation, we need to figure out if that's the case. We have a black police chief saying that it was a black officer who shot the black person, Mr. Scott. So it definitely matters how we form our worldview, and it also definitely matters how we react. Obviously, the Charlotte riots are a demonstration of that. So let's dive in here. Okay, we have Tahisha Williams saying that she saw it was a white man, a bald white man, who shot him. It's in this video here. I'll link to it in the description. But she says that it was not a black officer that killed him. It was a white officer that killed him. He was bald-headed. The black officer came on the scene maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, and he was the one doing CPR on him. Okay, so let's dive into the video here. Go along with this video, I highly mention you use the space bar to pause it and unpause it repeatedly so you can get still frames, and that's what we're going to go through here. So I'm going to go to full screen. Okay, this is the beginning. We see a red shirt guy, police vest here, so he's a police officer. Looks like a pistol right here, so he's holding it close to his chest. This is at 20 seconds in. We can see that there's no car parked here next to the blue Explorer or Expedition. We have a police officer here. He definitely has a weapon. He's in blue. We'll see later. We have someone else in dark pants, a white shirt, a vest. Looks like he's touching the vehicle, this white one over here. Okay, now in the video you'll see that this Ford Explorer police car pulls up here. Now here's Baldy, okay, he's on the scene now. Here's the other guys in blue. Now we're at 1:06. We see the police officer in red, and now we see Mr. Scott, bright blue pants, dark shirt, white hat. I don't see the guy in the white shirt and the vest. Presumably he is taking cover like you do in a tense situation. Here it is again, 1:07. Same thing basically. But we can see that he's standing in the middle of this wagon circle of cars here. Okay, now between these two frames is where the shooting takes place, and it's true, her video is not definite. We can't see if Mr. Scott was pointing a gun or what. Now, some people have claimed it was a book that he was holding. You know, a book is definitely a square object that's pretty recognizable as compared to a gun. The police officers are constantly yelling, "He has a gun, drop the gun, drop the gun." Now, I understand watching the video, it's easy to sympathize with Miss Scott yelling, "He's not dangerous, it's not a gun, he's mentally impaired, he doesn't have a gun, he won't hurt you." I understand that, but I'm sure police are trained, as they should be, to not listen to bystanders, okay? It's like going to bat in baseball. You have people heckling you, and I'm not accusing Miss Scott of heckling the police officers. I'm just saying you don't want to pay attention to people yelling things at you. Otherwise, it'd be way too easy for someone else or an accomplice to yell stuff to distract the police officers or make them stand down. I don't know. Again, and I'm not saying that's what Miss Scott is doing. She's just trying to tell them not to shoot her husband, which is fine. But to expect the police officers to listen to that is, in my mind, not reasonable. Okay. So, anyways, between these two frames here, the shooting happens. As you'll see, this is jump 107 to 121. Now, this is immediately after the shooting, and we do see a black object here that is close to the sidewalk in the grass. Red shirt guy is standing next to Mr. Scott laying down here. You know, again, probably already dead. One thing I will mention is that right before the shooting takes place, Mrs. Scott backs off from the scene. She was standing around here, as you'll see in the video. She walks over to the left, which is when the shooting takes place. So, if I had to guess, she felt the situation was reaching a boiling point, and she kept saying, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." What does she mean? Don't do what? Okay. If he has a book, if he's not dangerous, what was she telling him not to do? Not to go back to his car? I don't think he was going back to that white Explorer. He got shot well in distance from it. So why did she keep saying, don't do it? Don't do what? So again, we have a black object close to the sidewalk in the grass. Seconds later, literally 3 seconds later, 124, I can identify 3 people. I see red shirt guy, I see another guy here kneeling down, looking down, and I see another guy. Both these men have white shirts and black vests. Let's jump forward. So 4 seconds later, which is now she's coming back closer. He's pointing to the camera, presumably telling her to back off or go away. She's saying, I'm not, and you'll see if you watch the video, she's saying, I won't back off, but I'll record, okay? Now, black object is still there, still close to the sidewalk, and red shirt guy has now backed off from Mr. Scott laying there. 128, we have the 2 guys in the white shirt and the vest, Baldy, red shirt guy. Now he's stepped back over here and he's straddling that black object, so that's why we can't really see it. Now this man is obviously black, okay? Bald, black, dark skin, white shirt, vest, dark pants. He's holding his weapon, either holstering it or pulling it out, as we'll see, and especially if you just watch the video, he's putting his weapon away. Jump to 148 is where he starts putting his weapon away. Now this other guy is white. He's got the peach-colored skin, dark hair. Red shirt guy is still straddling the gun. Any other law enforcement people can confirm this, but I would assume it is standard operating procedure at the scene of a crime with a weapon that is fallen to the ground is to stand next to the weapon where it lies, not to move it, because that would essentially be tampering with evidence, before it's documented. At the same time, you don't want somebody else reaching for the weapon. Now, this guy, not to be crude, but he's obviously dead. He's not reaching for that weapon. Now, Baldy here is either cuffing him or bandaging. He's doing something, okay? Now, this is 148, remember. Going to 208, we have this dark object on the ground. It's closer to Mr. Scott, a little bit further away from the pavement. Baldy is still here. And if you watch the video, you'll see this black officer here. He actually reaches for something from the red shirt guy, and you'll see that he's taking gloves off, and it's like he takes a pair and then he throws them off and he puts another pair on. You'll see 217. So this is 30 seconds later. I don't think Baldy is still cuffing him. I don't know, or maybe he's not dead yet. I don't know. Black object is still definitely there. He's straddling it still. Now we have two other black objects, which if you watch the video, you'll see they're black latex gloves. He puts a pair on, then he takes those off, gets another pair, and puts those on. Okay, it's a bloody scene, so I'm going to guess that those are black latex gloves. But we still have this black object close to the pavement in the grass. Doesn't look like a book. I'll just say that. Now, here we see the black object again. Definitely doesn't look like a book unless it's a really small book. But again, this is a situation where all of these officers are telling this person to drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. This picture comes directly from Tahisha Williams' Facebook page. She took these pictures and posted them to her profile. And you can go see them. They're right there, okay? Now, if you notice, this must have been taken at least minutes, probably 30 seconds to minutes later, because we have new people on the scene. This white cop here in the black uniform, he definitely was not there during the situation. Or again, he was hiding, but he didn't come out after the shots were fired. Okay, so her own pictures were taken later. And if you go to her Facebook profile, she also posts a video of a person doing CPR. He's obviously white. He's a firefighter in fireperson's garb. In Mrs. Scott's video, we do not see the black officer performing CPR. Again, it's on this video here where she says that the black officer came on the scene 15, maybe 10 or 15 minutes later. So her statement is falsifiable for sure. And again, this is not defamation of a witness. I'm not saying she's lying. She might not have just noticed the black officer, who we can assume is Mr. Vinson, who the Charlotte police is saying shot Mr. Scott. Whether or not Mr. Scott was mentally impaired or not, whether it was a book or a gun or not, the cops clearly felt dangerously threatened, constantly telling him to drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. And Miss Scott herself kept telling Keith Lamont Scott, don't do it, don't do it. I'm not sure what she was referring to, but she obviously felt like he was doing something that might have gotten him shot. In conclusion, this is a tragedy either way, but we have to judge each individual person and each individual situation as just that before we prematurely, within minutes, within hours, chalk this one up to some sort of racial profiling or racist plot and then react by destroying Charlotte even further.